Welcome back to Telltale Books. This video I'm talking about the third story published by William Hope Hodgson. It's called The Valley of Lost Children, and it was published in the Cornhill magazine in February of 1906. And I know absolutely nothing about the Cornhill magazine or what prompted Hodgson to write this particular story, because it's a little different from what he normally writes. The Valley of Lost Children starts out with a man and a woman. They're farmers. They have a child. The child gets pricked by a bush or something and develops an infection. The infection becomes very serious. They're poor. This is 1906. They don't have access to medical care or antibiotics or anything like that. So the child dies. And they are out in the field digging a grave for the child. And a man comes along and recounts a story about a valley he saw, which was full of children who have passed on. And he relates a story that all lost children go to this valley where they are happy and everything is warm and great, but they're just all these little kids running around, no adults. And of course, he says that's where their child has gone. And, well, from here, if I tell much more, I'll just be spoiling it, but you can probably guess what happens. The story ends on an upbeat note. This story isn't quite what I was expecting from Hodgson. Normally, we get a lot more imagination, a lot more supernatural, a lot more horror, and a lot less religion. I don't have a problem with him writing a more religious story, but it just doesn't seem to fit with his other work very well. And he commits a sin in this story, the sin of local dialects. I absolutely hate when an author decides, and they seem to have done this, particularly in England, back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. H.G. Wells did it, and a lot of other authors have done this, where they write the dialogue. They write the dialect, They spell the words of the person's speech to fit the sound that the person would really be saying in their dialect when they're talking. And when you have characters with a heavy dialect, it becomes very, very difficult to figure out what the heck is being said. It's like reading another language. In The Valley of Lost Children, all of the characters are speaking this very thick, heavy local dialect. And so you struggle to figure out what's being said. And the payoff of the story, I don't feel the work is worth it. This is a story that, because of that, I feel it fails. It could have been a nice little story. Definitely not one of his best, definitely not a great story, but it could have been a nice story. But the dialects just ruin the experience. So I can't recommend this one, sorry. I'm very disappointed by it. And I really hope that the rest of William Hope Hodgson will not be anything like this one. Now, I read this story in this volume. This is volume 5, I believe. Yeah, volume 5 of the collected fiction of William Hope Hodgson by Nightshade Books. This is The Dream of X and Other Fantastic Visions. And there are a lot of good things in here, just not The Valley of Lost Children. And my next story from Hodgson will be From the Tideless Sea, which is a Sargasso Sea story. I believe it was the first of the Sargasso Sea stories. And I will be very soon reading and reporting on that story for you to continue this series and move on with William Hope Hodgson. So I'll see you then.